So here we have my windowsill seedlings. So these are courgettes. So I have 5 courgettes and they're coming along smashing. I've taken them out the trays and I've potted them up in quite deep pots, as you can see. Hoping to keep the stems. There's a little one there just coming up. I'm hoping it's getting enough sunlight on the window ledge. And towards the front we have 3 peppers that are doing quite well. This one I'm not sure, I keep thinking it's a rose, but I'm not sure what it is at the moment. I have more sweet peppers in this one. And I think there's about 30 in there, so I'm waiting for them to get a little bit stronger and then I'll pot them up again like the courgettes in the bigger tubs and let them form a nice big thick root ball. But yeah, they're doing great. I have 9 cucumbers, and again some of them are just popping up now with the next leaves coming through. So they're fine. These are the smaller, that's second batch of tomatoes just coming through. And these ones are even smaller, but they're there and they're coming through. This is my first lot of tomatoes to produce, and they're doing quite well. Quite happy with how they're coming along. They are literally the smaller pots, so these are normally what you'd start the herbs in. So I'll start them off in there to basically not take too much more windowsill space. And I have more butternut, these are the first butternut squash, and again they're producing the next layer of leaves, so I'm quite happy with them. I think all in all I have 18 butternut squash, and they look lovely. Looking rather messy on this ledge, but again another 6 butternut squash there. Some carnation cuttings I've taken to make the garden a little bit prettier. And again more, so as I say, I think there's about 18 butternut squash altogether. It's the first time I've ever done butternut squash this year, and I'm really happy because they were so easy to do. I think I'm learning the times to sow and to be a bit more patient. A lady on one of our local plant pages put out her runner beans a couple of days ago. And of course the temperatures of the soil are way too cold. When I potted some of my seedlings up, I actually used a cooking temperature rod, tested how cold the soil was, and then just literally put a drop of hot water on, put the gauge in again to test the temperature, and made sure it wasn't too hot because otherwise that'd kill the seedlings as well, and then potted up from there, because obviously if you're keeping your compost bags or your soil bags outside, they're literally going to be too cold to put your seedlings up, so just be careful at this time. I'll go ahead now and show you how the outside is looking. So here I've sown some Blue Lake French beans. And these are the 5-foot ones, so nothing coming up yet, but the trellis is in place and I'm ready for those to come along. The other side of the door I actually have another trellis and 2 containers again with the Blue Lake French beans. Around the back of the side patio I have the garlics coming up. And I'm quite happy with them. I've not really concentrated, some need covering up a bit more, the last of my leeks. I'm gradually pulling out the leeks and using them for meals. I decided not to pull them all up together and freeze them because I'm hearing freeze damage, etc. I have a bed there that I haven't weeded, and that's ready for the butternut squashes to go into. As usual, because it's a recycle project garden, I have a bit of tat hanging around that I will reuse at some stage. So I've got some nice stems to incorporate in different areas. This is a gooseberry, and I'm looking to pot that up pretty soon in a much bigger pot. Little bit of a flowery section, which will all come together eventually. As we know in the gardening game, nothing happens in a rush. So under here we've got the cabbages coming along, and a few of the ends of the lettuce that I've popped in to see if they'll reshoot and see if they'll produce me even more lettuces. But yeah, these cabbages seem to be looking fine, and I just keep them covered with some green netting, and that's how I do that. I actually took 2 drain pipes, and I've started to fill out with my lettuce seedlings as they can take the cold weather. I wasn't too fussed, and the soil was actually warmed up a little bit before they were planted, so I'm hoping to have 2 of the drain pipes filled pretty soon. There's nothing in this second one yet, but if I can get an angle, you'll actually see there's 2 along the fence, and they'll just be convenient for me to step out the front door and side door and pick out the lettuce. I shall have the tomato plants out here as well, and I'll probably have a cucumber up each trellis as well, so we'll have that. This is my strawberry bed, and in the strawberry bed I have a cherry tree at one end of the strawberries, and I have another one that's just coming back now, and this is a different cherry as well. So hopefully I'll get to that before the birds get to it. The project I started last year with the strawberries in the containers, they've all got proper holes drilled in them for the overflow of the water, so I'm hoping they pick up and succeed. Unfortunately, I didn't put the holes properly in them last year, so I didn't really get fruit from this section. Again, here I have more of the French beans, so these are only dwarf ones, so if I step back slightly you'll be able to see. Up to that wooden pole is where the French beans should grow, and it just pretties up my little strawberry garden, adding with the French beans. I have my parsley spaced out, because of course they grow in clumps, so if you separate them every now and again you get even more plants. So I was able to give a few of the neighbours different, actually put them in hanging baskets for them and gifted them that way. And just behind some of the common yellow poppies, so it should look quite nice, this little area. Again, more pots and everything waiting for the tomatoes to come through. My flower bed that I started last year, the wallflowers are looking absolutely beautiful. It's a nice splash of colour around the garden that I'm quite happy with. I have a magnolia in the middle, and I'm just waiting for that to come up. And little bits and bobs, the lupins are looking really nice and fresh. I have some geraniums in the middle, some odd strawberries that always creep in everywhere, and I've sprinkled this with some butterfly bee seed for the flowers for them. So if they've gone due to the chilly weather we've had and are still having, I've got half a box so I can go round and redo it. So then just a little bit of Sweet William creeping up around the bed, which look quite nice. The wheelie bins that I use as compost bins, so I've drilled holes in and I just keep adding to them and use them as compost bins as I go along. I'm just starting to put a little flower patch down the beginning of this section, which is a new section that we opened up this year. We didn't do it long ago, so we had to stand the apple tree up because it was falling back onto the fence, and I removed 3 flags that were at the rear of the tree, and then my blackcurrants didn't do too great last year, so I've separated the 4 of them, set them around the tree, and you can see how wonderful they are already. I'm hoping we get close enough for you to start seeing that the fruit is coming through on them, and I'm really happy with that. And in amongst them I've planted garlic, so I'll have a nice bed of garlic in between them, the blackcurrants and then the apple tree. And the apple tree is coming up, the flowers are all ready to pop. They look beautiful, so I'm quite happy with that. And then the other side I have the pear tree, and again, you know, the flowers are absolutely abundant. The whole tree is absolutely covered with the flowers, so they'll be out in a few days. So they're looking lovely. And instead of planting onions back in the middle, back around it again this year, I've decided just to let it be flowers. So I have some giant poppies that come up. I have some calendula, what we call English marigolds, and again in between I've sown bees and butterfly friendly seeds for them to encourage them. This is the potato bed, which a friend gave me some straw, and I've seen others just put it on, just keep them a bit warm, keeps the water in and keeps them a bit moist. So the sprout bed and potato bed together, which I believe are good companion plants, so I'm quite happy with that. And just at the rear of the potato bed is 3 sections of my rhubarb, and we look forward to rhubarb cordial, so that should be quite nice. And just next to it is a purple sprout and broccoli. I have a few of these around the garden, and those heads will be ready to pick again soon, so we'll have another little feast off that. It's not lavender, I can't think what it's called. It's like a lavender herb, it's a different type of lavender. But that one's there. It looks a bit tatty at the minute, but it's been cut severely back. At the bottom of the archway, my peas are out, and they've been out for, I'd say, nearly 2 weeks now. The peas have been out and they've done well. I've not had to cover them. They're early peas, so I'm just basically presuming they could take the cold weather. As I say, the soil is still quite cold, but yeah, they're managing. They're not dying off. They look a bit floppy yet, but when they're big enough, the tendrils will cling onto the archway, and I'm quite happy with that. In this one, my onions are coming on quite nicely. Nice piece of chard in the middle, and some calendula again around them, and some wild garlic there at the back. The second half of this bit, this is the plastic sheeting that we had from the greenhouse, the perspex are underneath there. I mean, a lot of that might be weed coming up, but there is 2 whole packets of herbs sown in that section, so I'm hoping they come up nice. As I say, the wallflowers are all in nice little sections around the garden, so they give it a bit of prettiness. This bed is turning into another strawberry bed, and I have 2 of the purple sprouting in this as well. The bottles have things growing in them. I have the birds and bees flowers coming up, and they're slightly protected. A bit more wild garlic and the recycle leeks. So basically I keep the leek ends and I regrow them, but I'm just keeping that covered until I'm happy enough to take it off. So I think we've got another 2.5 weeks or so yet, and then the perspex and the covers will be coming off. The frog pond, all the frog spawn is actually gone now, so I'm presuming the little babies are everywhere. I'm trying not to think that anything's eating them. I'm hoping they're all hopping about the garden, but I haven't actually seen any yet. But again, it will be what it'll be. We do come across, and it's just I'm not out here as much as at the moment. This tree is a faux plum, and it has beautiful how can I explain, like bomb big pink bally flowers come off it, and again you can see it's absolutely covered, so the flowers are going to be beautiful when this one comes out, so I'm looking forward to that. Just at the side of the beds I have a little peach tree, and for the last 2 years I've actually been getting some peaches off it, and I'm hoping the quantity just rises and rises. So as I say, it's not a big tree, it's a really slender tree, but it's producing and I'm really happy with it. I'm hoping to treat myself to another one eventually, but I'm happy with that one. So around the bottom again, along with the companion planting, messy, we have the chives, and some of them are about to flower soon, so I'll have to do a couple of bags of them. But we've got chives all around the base, and again more wallflowers just to brighten it up. My tatty little work area at the bottom. But as I say, as soon as the weather warms up, I'll sort this area out and I'll start working as it should be. This is my mum's, what we call my mum's tree, and it's not doing great. So we've got buds on it. We've got buds at the ends, and I'm hoping we might get something off it, but we'll just have to wait and see. It would disappoint me if anything happened to Mum's tree. Mum's ashes are just below this tree. We have some flowers, some chives, some different things all coming up inside, so we're looking forward to that coming alive. We call that Mum's garden. It doesn't look very tidy, but a stone my son did a few years ago for it, he'll have to repaint it. It does say R.I.P. Nan, and that's Nan's little section. This section was opened up towards the end of last year, and I've got carrots, beetroot and spinach. I don't know if you can just see, but we do have some coming up just underneath the cover, so hopefully that's working. And I've put 2 pieces of mint in there just to dissuade the carrot fly. Hopefully they smell the mint, and they won't really be interested anymore. But again, it's trial and error and we will see. lots more chives in the middle again, and some onions coming round. This was my cabbage bed last year, and we have a nice purple sprout and broccoli that I've just literally taken everything off recently. We have more of these milk bottle greenhouses, so that's more lettuce coming along. I think they're cabbages, I'm not sure. Nice piece of chard in the middle, and that one has carrots coming up in it. So there's a rogue a rogue raspberry made its way, but again, this is space that I need to work with, because obviously I've got a lot of seedlings that I need to plant out pretty soon. This is the raspberry garden. And in amongst it, when I go picking the wild garlic, should any tiny baby ones come up by accident, this is where I plant them. I wouldn't purposely pick bulbs up, of course, but sometimes you just can't help it and they come up if it's a moist area, so I save those and replant in my own garden. This little section was where I started the leeks off last year, and some of them are really skinny, but I suppose I could use those as spring onions and the likes. And again, the raspberries are popping through, so they will have to be addressed at some point. I do still have some trees and flowering shrubs on this side, and gradually they will all be removed so I can put edibles in. This side of the archway, I have peas and French beans again. I didn't bother doing runner beans this year. I intended to, but when I actually opened the packet, they were suffering mildew, so instead of going out and buying any more, because they were last year's, I just decided, right, well, I have some already canned and preserved and on the pantry shelf, so we have enough for this year. So I've doubled up on the French beans this year and shall can them and the peas. So I'm quite happy with that. I've not done an awful lot in the polytunnel so far, but we'll just take a quick look. The two beds from last year, nothing's looking great really. So I've done a load of kale seedlings, obviously too much for me, but I will be sharing with friends. So the kale is coming up, and these three front ones are 3 different types of lettuces. So we'll have plenty of those to go around. We do this tub of lettuce every year, and we tend to keep that on in the side garden again, so we can just step out the door and we can pick it when we need it. This second one is mixed leaf, but it doesn't seem to be much coming up in there at the moment, but give it time. We've got some potato buckets, and they'll come up in due course. These are garlic, so they'll be doing okay. And then the 2 blueberry plants, they're looking fab, you know. I'm not really sure how to thin them out or to cut them back, so I'm seeking some advice on that. I don't know whether I'm too late in the day if I leave them till next year, but yeah, we got quite a nice handful of them last year. So this is the 2 polytunnel beds. As I say, I've not done anything with them yet. There's the odd beetroot still there, there's chard in between, some old onions that need to be pulled out, but yeah, nice piece of sage in the middle, and the chard that refuses to die, but I'm quite happy with it. We eat it, we love it. So beetroot, chard and chives and sage, so it will be reworked. I've put 2 grapes in. I know they're meant to be planted outside, but that one doesn't look like it's coming back anyway. I can't really see any signs of life on it, but the second one in the corner of the other bed at the front of the poly actually looks like it's got some life coming to it, so that That looks like a nodule that's coming back to life. So we're just going to persevere and see how it goes. So one's a black and one's a green. So the one where I think on the other side of the poly is a green, and this one in this front corner is a black one. So we'll see, we'll see. But yeah, I'm quite happy. My tatty seating area, but we'll improve bit by bit. I think I'm getting a bit further each year. Illness doesn't always help us, so there are days when I can't do anything and I have to just ask my husband nicely, could you do this, could you do that? But when I'm capable and I do get up and have a go. But yeah, the Wallflowers garden today. Where are we? April the 13th, 2021. There's a long way to go still. There always is with gardening, you know. In this tub here we have begonias, and I'm just waiting for the begonias to come through. They're just bulbs. Looks a bit dry. And this one is a bleeding heart in the boot. So that's a nice delicate pink bleeding heart. I quite enjoy that when it comes up. It looks lovely. As I say, that's the mint bucket. So yeah, the Wallflowers garden. As I say, much more work to do. Some clutter that I won't remove because it's all a recycling project, so there's always going to be a bit of tat. But we're getting there. We're getting there. We're feeding the family and we're enjoying it. Okay, thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.